Venga, empezamos el panel de Warcraft, día 2, gente. Y esto es pagando. Todo esto ha sido con el ticket de la Blizzcon. Ya recordemos que este año es completamente gratuita para todos. A ver si está puesto los subtítulos, por cierto, que supuestamente vendrán sus subtítulos en español, creo. Subtítulos, ¿verdad? A ver, se puede configurar, que ayer no conseguimos. Vale. Supuestamente va con subtítulos.
Blizzcon 2023 would like to thank our partners. Omen, Game Life.
Vale. Supuestamente es en inglés solo, ¿verdad?
Xbox, Power Your Dreams.
Subtítulos en inglés. Sí.
Mountain Dew Game Fuel Mystic Punch. Redeem points for gaming rewards and exclusive items in Diablo 4.
No sé si se puede cambiar algo. No, se puede cambiar aquí nada, absolutamente nada. Nada.
Points for gaming rewards and exclusive items in Diablo.
Intentaremos traducir lo máximo posible. Sí, porque voy a mirar por el de Twitch. A ver si en Twitch. En este ya ha empezado, gente. En Twitch ya ha empezado.
Good afternoon, Blizzcon.
Welcome back, Blizzcon. We're starting the
So good to be back. Whether you are here in the arena with me
Vale.
right in front of me, whether you're watching from elsewhere
Vamos para
in
allá.
the halls, whether you're joining us from the
Jacicostas, hace tiempo que no lo veíamos,
taking the time to join me for this deeper, closer look at what's coming next.
No se puede, ¿verdad?
within. I love you too.
Ajuste, ventana. I love you too.
I love you, BlizzCon. So Morgan and Maria gave you kind of a sneak peek at some of what's coming. Today I want to spend a bit more time giving you more information on the core features of War Within, as well as a few things that didn't get mentioned at all yesterday.
Bueno, veremos a ver cómo podemos, gente.
Beginning,
A ver.
little teaser there. So to begin, let's talk delves. So what is a delve? As you heard yesterday,
Vale, esto es lo de las profundidades. Las nuevas características de las profundidades que tenemos,
for flexible size groups.
en la que podemos entrar, ya sabemos, de un solo jugador o hasta 4 más, nuestros 4 amigos, y vamos acompañados de un NPC. Vale. Qué hijos de puta, qué espada. Se han hecho una camiseta y todo con qué espada. Qué hijos de puta. Bueno, es un nuevo game pilar, es una nueva jugabilidad para el final. Quieren que sea otro tipo de experiencia, como no simplemente en PvP, morra, PvP y demás. Vale. Hace tiempo que no veíamos a Jacicostas, tío. Lo echaba de menos. Variedad, flexibilidad, progresión.
But also want to build in progression. And I think if you're an outdoor world focused player, a lot of the time it's just about kind of spending your time doing a thing, going to a place, completing an event, but there aren't necessarily goals to work towards. There aren't necessarily reasons to be excited because it's going to let you do something.
Un personaje. Están hablando de precisamente lo que quieren hacer de progreso para un personaje. Han aprendido las lecciones de Torgas, los campos de batalla y todas estas cositas. Y han intentado mejorar como ley las expediciones, ¿os acordáis? En Battle for Azeroth. Expediciones y demás. Han aprendido y quieren ver cómo vamos. A ver si muestran un poquito, gente.
But we've also learned, based on your feedback, about what not to do in some cases, in terms of how we structure it, how we present it.
En previsión de todo lo que le han dicho a la comunidad, quieren hacer algo diferente y que se puede hacer con diferentes roles, no simplemente pues con DPS. Es un pilar importante. Decía mucha gente que se estaba quejando de que no había contenido final y aquí tenemos uno de las expediciones de este tipo.
Unlike Torghast, which is something that, we did kind of say, everyone has to do this, whether you like it or not, whether you'd rather do something else.
Vale.
That gets back to some of the philosophies that Morgan touched on yesterday and how we're approaching designing and evolving World of Warcraft. We want to meet you
Intentando buscar una alternativa también para hacer competiciones y demás. A ver cómo lo hacen, gente. Vale, misterios que veremos en notas en claves a lo largo del mundo. No son mazmorras. No te... El final, la consecuencia final de este tipo de este modo de juego no es matar bosses, es directamente encontrar lo que es un secreto, ¿cómo decirlo? Un premio, no un premio tampoco, es un secreto, es un tesoro. Hay que explorar todo el tema de la cueva.
When you walk up to, this, as I'll show in a second, a fog door at the entrance to a cave, at the entrance to a structure, you're just going to walk in, no loading screen, and now you're in a delve. You want to make sure this really feels like part of and an extension of the outdoor world.
La estructura. ¿Es como que segundo nivel? Un segundo, gente. Eso no lo he entendido. Tío, lo voy a tener complicado, ¿eh?
So, as well as a narrative progression over the course of a given season, there will be increasing rewards, increasing difficulty, and a change of pace, whether you're in Season 1 of War Within, Season 2, and so forth. Part of that is going to be the NPC companion that will be accompanying you on your adventures.
Vamos a ver, porque me estoy intentando leerlo por otro sitio, pero no me voy a enterar por otro lado. Sesión de estructura, narrativa, an NPC Companions, ¿vale? Join Bran, Brazón en sesión 1. ¡Ah! Mira, Bran va a ser el NPC que nos acompañe en la sesión 1. Cada uno va a ser diferente.
And customize his abilities to complement what you or your friends are bringing to the group, whether you want more survivability, whether you want...
A ver si puedo ponerlo en español, gente.
This can help us balance the experience as well and give you another vector for your progression over the course of the journey. Find some gear for Brand. I know this is kind of a very high level. You'll be able to spec him specific examples as kind of a day in the life of someone jumping into delves in War Within. So let's say you are casually journeying across the Isle of Dorne in its pastoral beauty, and you come across this structure with that fog door set into it. You decide
un día dejaremos de volver.
You are, as I mentioned, seamlessly in the delve, and you will find, just huddled inside the entrance, a group of expedition scouts who have come to this place. They've heard reports of great secrets, great treasures, powerful relics stored within. They've been unable to proceed further because they tell you, and Bran is among them, mind you, they tell you this place, there's an unnatural, there's a
estoy intentando, me estoy perdiendo muchas de las cosas que están diciendo, gente.
And we can't proceed. Fortunately, they have in their possession a relic that they have brought that is an enchanted candle that can light the way. It has a little light radius around it. If you think back to the Vault of the Warden's dungeon, if you remember that in Legion, what the basement was like, where it really felt like just a dark, scary place, but you could have this beacon in the darkness.
Lo voy a poner en YouTube, que lo vais a ver mucho mejor.
They tell you it has very limited fuel. They dare not
creo que
light radius around it. If you think back to the Vault of the Warden's dungeon, if you remember that in Legion, what the basement was like, where
aquí lo podéis ver un poquito mejor, ¿vale?
Scary place, but you could have this beacon in the darkness to guide your way. You have one of those. But they tell you it has very limited fuel.
Y ahí lo veis un poquito mejor, ¿vale?
¡Ay! Because they worry they're just going to get trapped in the darkness and destroyed by the terrors within. But you, of course, being the champion who's come along, you're up to the task. So you take
Hace
that
lo que le da gana, tío.
light radius that will begin to shrink progressively as your limited fuel burns, and you take some steps into the delve. Now, who do you find?
No me hace caso.
Well, as it happens,
Bueno.
you run across fellows like this guy. More jacked than your average kobold, but
Un
there's a lot
kobold.
of kobolds in
Ya
here.
tiene vela. El
And
kobold,
as
gente.
You know, as any World of Warcraft player knows, where you find kobolds, you're going to find candles. And this guy's going to put up a fight, but it being World of Warcraft and all, you're going to take his candle. And you're going to take the candles of his allies and his brethren. And, you know, that will help fuel this magic light that you have, help keep the light burning so that you can traverse the entire delve. Defeat a couple of
Tienes que conseguirle para que no se le apague la vela.
puzzle or two, and at the end, you make your way into the vault room that Brad is able to open once you bring him there, and you find this mock-up, work in progress of a treasure
Un
room,
puzzle.
which is
No es simplemente matar. O sea, la mecánica que quede claro que no es simplemente estar matando, entrar ahí y empezar a matar.
Walk up and open, collect a range of items, currency, rewards, you name it. But you'll find a couple of extra large, resplendent chests in this room. Those may require special keys to open. Now, those keys you would obtain from doing kind of outdoor content, weekly quests. They're a bit more limited in how you can get them, but also allow us to offer and pace out the best rewards.
Conseguimos llaves, tenemos a ver, otro contenido, otra semana y demás cosillas.
Now, let's say you come back to the same delve on another day. You might find that there isn't a magical darkness settled over the place. Instead,
Es como, creo que será como si fuera un contenido fuera de mundo.
Dealing with some different challenges along the way.
Darkness.
Replayability, lots of layers to the experience.
O sea que supuestamente va a ser diferente a lo que es lo que vemos fuera.
You come across this cave surrounded by mushrooms. It's known in legends as fungal folly. Now, maybe not being the wisest adventurer, that sounds like a great place to enter, so you take a few steps forward. In here, you might find an environment where, whether it's due to unusual ores or whatever in the walls, the rules of gravity are a bit topsy-turvy. You'll find mushrooms scattered around the cave that you can use as basically jump pads to help navigate the environment, to skip over enemies you want to avoid, to reach high up ledges that you couldn't otherwise get to. You're starting to get the idea, like, this is more the
siguiendo
world
esto,
as toy vibe that we tried to play with when we're creating outdoor events, outdoor spaces. These are not mechanics you necessarily find in a dungeon, but I think the team really is unshackled, is freed to explore a much wider array of gameplay when we're building delves. So let's talk a bit more
Habrá que buscarlas, la mazmorra.
So actually, before we talk about the loot,
Vale, tenemos 4 por zona, más o menos. He visto 3 en la primera.
scattered throughout the 4 zones, each themed around the ecologies, each themed around the
Luego hablaremos del loot, pero que se considera loot.
Now, some of the attentive among you
Mira,
may
aquí
say,
tenemos
"Wait a
4
minute,
aquí, aquí
Morgan
3,
Slaughter
2.
said there were 13
Tenemos
delves."
bastantes,
He might be
gente.
right, but there also might be a secret delve that you have to explore a bit more to discover. That awaits you. So yeah, loot. Part of being a seasonal pillar means going to the Great Vault every week
Right.
and getting to share
Dungeons.
disappointments that your raid
¿Estará dentro?
and playing brethren have also had the pleasure to enjoy. We just want to make sure you don't feel left out.
Complete the age.
So, you're welcome. So yeah, so you'll note this isn't
Esto no lo he
a
entendido,
battle
gente.
for
Devolución.
and
¿Estará
really
aquí?
just enshrining these 3 PvE pillars, raids, dungeons, world. You'll be able to unlock some of these slots doing select outdoor world activities, as well as, of course, delves with better rewards from higher difficulty delves. Our thinking in terms
Ah,
of
sí, está aquí abajo,
rewards is
gente.
also subject to tuning.
Está aquí abajo.
This should reach
O sea, quitamos el PvP y ponen lo del War.
raid, Mythic 10 to 15 type range.
Oh, qué guapo.
Accessible just by
Contenido para gente de un solo jugador. Esto para la gente que... Hostia, esto está muy guapo. Heroique. Hostia, qué guapo. Esto está muy bien para gente que no puede hacer mazmorras. Fijaos, raids para gente que tenga mucha gente, muchos amigos. Dungeons para gente que tenga 5 y los que no tienen 1, 2, 3 a este tipo de juego. Bueno, ya ahora preguntarán dónde está el PvP. Oh, qué bueno, tío. No se preocupe. Están reconstruyendo el PvP.
I know it took a few years to get that message through to us.
Qué fuerte.
So, the way this is going to
Ah,
work is
feedback.
instead, you're just
Qué
gonna
guapo,
get a
tío.
lot more conquest. You're going to gear up at the same rate overall, but you will have complete control over your gearing path, just spending your conquest on the items that you want.
Qué chulo.
With easier catch-up if
Me
you're
mola.
running late in the season, you don't have to worry about having missed certain vault weeks. Also, if you're someone who PvPs a lot and you raid, you don't have the awkward choice of that raid trinket versus the PvP item that's going to help your arena partners. So,
Ahí no lo he entendido, gente. No lo puedo traducir porque no me he entendido, no me he enterado.
hopefully, just good news for everyone. Now, aside from, just power,
A ver lo que dicen de
also,
PvP.
silly hats.
Los
Nothing more to
cosméticos que
say
pueden
here.
conseguir, gente. ¡Una vela!
These are just a few
Justo, lo
examples
están
of
diciendo en WoW. El contenido de PvP ha sido reemplazado por
reflecting
la
varied ecologies and environments
por el contenido del mundo en la bóveda.
Silly hats, World of Warcraft. Less silly.
Oh, qué chulo.
just as, let's say, Mythic
Ay,
Plus players
se puede
amounts that they can earn over the course of a given season. This
se puede customizar como nosotros queramos,
will
gente.
be exclusively available through thorough completion of the delve experience. You'll
Qué
note the
bueno.
customizability of it. This will be customizable the same way you can customize your current dragon riding drakes at the rostrum. Just modularly.
Qué chulo, tío. Se pueden customizar la montura. Bueno, no todas serán, supongo. Pero hostia.
It's pretty cool. I love our artists. Okay.
Las bandas.
Warbands. I feel like I could probably just save 10 minutes this panel by just saying account-wide everything and like just click through the next slides. But
¿Sean de 10 minutos?
kind of that. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but turns out y'all play a lot of alts. I'm sure that actually the number of characters per person in this room in particular is like some insane average.
Ah, no, las Warbands no, estas no son las bandas, estos son los grupos que hemos estado diciendo, perdón. He puesto por- Esto es el grupo del Guerra o algo así que se llama, que es lo del el escritorio este que nada más que podemos entrar a World of Warcraft, podemos elegir entre 5, en principio ahora veremos cuántos personajes, y saldrán ahí y compartirá logros, reputaciones y todo, banco, todas esas cosillas que están muy bien, ¿vale? Lo bueno es que consigamos con un... si es que da igual, tengamos un alter y compartir banco, un alter que se dedique a farmear y no tenemos que estar mandándonos cosas, ya y ganamos muchísimo, tío. A ver. Alter friendlies runs into chance. Vale. No. Es que es muy alter friendly. Fijaos que no tenemos que estar siempre... no, ahora tenemos que estar con tan alter y subir la reputación. Otra vez 3, 4 reputaciones y subirlas al máximo. Hacer la misión diaria. No, la tenemos entera. Buah, qué guapo, tío. Está diciendo lo de vender lo que hemos dicho, lo que he dicho del personaje que te mando. El personaje que farmea se lo manda al constructor, el constructor se lo manda otra vez al que farmea o al que vende en subasta. Es un coñazo, tío. New fundación.
In the future, so we're not fighting against the nature of the system, but instead it complements what we want to do. The focus here is really making it convenient, removing barriers, removing awkwardness in playing all.
Un sistema
We
inspirado
don't want to
completamente.
actively necessarily encourage it. People already want to do it if they do it. One thing the system is not going
Poco
to be
convivencia,
is
flexible,
something
no
that rewards
power.
your power or makes your main more effective because you have done things on other characters or anything along those lines. If you want to play alts, do so. If
El
you just
poder.
love focusing on a single character, that shouldn't feel wrong either. Now let's talk about some examples.
A ver, ejemplos. Ejemplos. El banco, tío.
Okay, so I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. They're mostly fairly straightforward. It's a bank. It's an account-wide bank.
World Bank.
Thankfully, hopefully,
Vale.
you should never again have to mail something to yourself. You also might notice, and so the
World Bank y Bank. ¿Veis abajo las pestañas? Bueno, están aquí abajo, ¿vale? Bueno, vamos a ver una cosita. Voy a hacer así, mira. Banco y banco del Warbands, ¿vale? Para la diferencia, para que se vea la diferencia. Voy a quitar esto de aquí, ¿veis? Ahí lo tenéis, ¿vale? Eso está muy bien, tío. Buah.
Next up, maybe a little new thing. Something that you might put in this account-wide storage.
Vale.
We will now have to create
Un telequipa.
war-bound items that are war-bound until equipped.
Esto está.
That you can't sell in the auction house.
Esto está ligado a cuenta. Ligado a alma.
Characters for their use. Now, these items would drop as bonus personal loot from doing a variety of content. They would drop at a slightly lower item level than what that content would normally give you. Again, we want to make sure the right way to play is not,
vamos a leerla.
characters to funnel loot to your main to gear up your main faster.
O sea que si lo pasamos, quedáramos con los de.
Ways of getting an alt caught up, maybe even an excuse to level an alt if you get a really cool item for a class that you
Múltiples
haven't had a chance
caracteres.
to get up yet. So just an extra layer.
O sea que se puede utilizar a otros personajes.
Make it easier than ever to progress to accomplish your goals on multiple characters. All right, now quick rundown of some of the other integrations we have planned. Transmog. Transmog has all
Transfiguración.
been for a long time an account-wide collection.
Transfiguración.
Key thing
A
here
ver.
now that
Ah, esto lo estuve leyendo. Parece ser que cualquier personaje se va a poder transformar en el. Se puede transformar, no. Transfigurar. Cualquiera en cualquier sitio. De cualquiera. Un mago se va a poder poner unas placas, por ejemplo. Todo el mundo va a poder transfigurarse lo que sea. Si eres tela, da igual. Te puedes poner transfigurar cualquier cosa de objeto que tengas de placas. ¡Dios! Por favor.
Reputations and renowns will work account-wide. We want to make this as retroactive as possible. That will take some work over time. We're probably going to start with Dragonflight renowns as a focus and a priority.
Está muy chulo, ¿eh?
But going forward, we want progress earned on reputations to not really matter which character you're doing it on. At the end of the day, it's the same content, it's the same experience. If you've gained access to some perk or some recipe, having to re-earn it.
¡Qué bueno, tío! Es que estoy intentando ver Twitter a la misma vez y me cuesta, gente. Flight Pads. Buenas reputaciones, esto lo hemos visto, la reputación se comparte. Los Flight Pads son los esquemas, ¿no? Los pergaminos que podemos conseguir para nuestras monturas voladoras, pues para todos. ¿Vale? Nuestra montura, ya sabéis que ahora mismo en Dragonfly, si habéis conseguido una customización para vuestros dragoncitos, no lo puede tener en los altos y no consigue lo mismo. Bueno, pues ahora para todo el mundo igual. Y Delvers también, o sea, también tienen el nuevo sistema. ¿Nos pueden acompañar? That's more frustrating than fun to re-earn those things. Let's make that progression inherently warband level, inherently account-wide. ¿Ves? Eso ya lo he entendido.
And achievements. We've had account-wide achievements for a long time. No secret, they have the little blue bar over them, indicating that they function at an account-wide level. What Warbands allows us to do is kind of invert that paradigm and change the vast majority of our achievements.
Vale, lo de los vuelos también. Todos, si se desbloquea una ruta de vuelo por un personaje, lo desbloqueas para los demás. Los profesores, los de Master.
Your Warband can earn the achievement. Once your Warband earns it, you've earned it. Again, you the player are doing the thing.
Para todo, ¿no? En PvP, profesiones. Qué chulo está. Mira, gente. Mira, gente. Qué guapo, ¿eh? Y son 4 personajes. Un segundo, gente. A selection of your favorite characters huddled around a campfire or another setting. You'll still have your full list accessible, but we want to make it clear that, like, you, the player, have this cast of characters. That if you want to dress them all up in consistent transmogs, go wild. One thing you might note here, if you're very eagle-eyed, also, by the way, if you're very eagle-eyed, don't read too much into things like the evoker wearing leather. It's internal mock-ups. We're not changing anything crazy there.
sorry. But you will note that the Evoker is level 13. That's going to be a thing that's possible because they'll start at level 10. But, because Dragonflight's going to be the new leveling expansion, by the way, going forward. One thing you might notice is there isn't really much here about realm selection. Warbands are a realm-agnostic, faction-agnostic feature. You will just see all your characters here. If they're on different servers, we'll make it clear that they're on different servers. But you shouldn't have to like go to the change realm screen and swap around. They're just all here.
El server con diferentes servicios.
Okay. Hero talents. So,
No me estoy enterando bien, gente. No puedo estar... No puedo. El talento. Venga, vamos. Esto sí me interesa. A ver. Esto me paso lo demás. A ver. Explore the Class Fantasy. Vale. Vamos a ver.
Morgan said this yesterday, just to restate, this is a completely flexible system.
Completa flexible para tu juego. Ya veremos, gente. Esto de la flexibilidad. Después ya sabéis que viene WoW, te dice qué clase de talento es más especial y ya está.
Some of our goals here, of course, we want to offer progression, but we want to do so, frankly, while managing complexity to a certain extent. When we started planning for War Within, we knew, all right, we're going to raise the level cap by 10. 10 new levels means 10 new talent.
Otra progresión de la agencia para manejar complejidad. ¿Y talentos? Cada habilidad tiene 3 especificaciones. Lo estuvimos hablando. La clase tiene de media 3 especificaciones. Esto lo estuvimos hablando ya en la anterior. 2 opciones cada uno. Hay que tener cuidado. Algunas ciudades que la destruyen, con cuidado y demás.
The way it's generally going to look is a third talent tree. Again, as mentioned yesterday, at the center of your screen, you have class, you have
ahí está en medio,
in the middle, you have hero talents.
¿Por eso lo hicieron tan grande?
You'll note, so there are 10 nodes. There's an initial node that you get as a starter node at the top that you'll get initially when you unlock the system at 71.
En este caso es un druida balance y se ha cogido el Keep of Grows.
On the way to 80. At level 80, you'll have this fully unlocked, similar to Legion artifacts, let's say. So you don't have to agonize over, where you're placing any choice along the way. Now, the choices that you will make are which hero spec do you want active?
Estos son los 10 niveles que serán, porque el nivel 80, del 70 al 80 serán estos niveles.
And the spec trees currently have, which you can toggle, adding quite a few permutations to the system as a whole. If you want, as a kind of simpler collapsed view, once you've hit max level, you can just condense it down to only show the choice nodes for easy swapping back and forth. Customize your spec for whatever activity you're setting out to do. Now, I want to take a little bit of time to quickly walk through a couple of trees.
Mira, estos son los rápidos para que se vea bien.
All of this is subject to change, all subject to iteration and the extensive feedback we know we're going to get.
Vale, estos son los dos objetos, por ejemplo, este es el que tiene, el de la el druida de equilibrio.
Part of why the team starts with druids is because y'all are complicated. We figure
el de druida como complicado. Son dos diferentes, el Une Choice o Keeper of the Grove. Natural, entonces specs, summons, enchants. Pero esto es más protección. Esto puede ser más bien para protegerse. Esto más bien para PvP. Para daño, esto más daño en área. Que parece también más protección. Sustain. A ver, te incrementa el damage de un 30% mientras esté activo. Edge Groups incrementa un 5% mientras esté activo.
more important to you in every regard. Some of the nodes in these trees are
Ese máximo maná incrementado un 5%, en tu máximo astral power incrementado un 20%. Your threat.
regardless of what spec you are.
Debería ser
add
segundos.
additional damage.
Oh.
By the way, if anyone's worried, wait a minute, but what about the auto taunt? That's a mess in dungeons. We'll let you opt out of that. Don't worry. Or passives could just augment your abilities, your resource pool, and just make you better. An example of a choice node. Again, this can be about doubling down on and getting more.
Incrementador. Esto es una habilidad. Genera 4 astral power sobre cada 2 segundos. Pero bueno, son talento, eso sí. Lo que bueno es que no es cuando llegamos a nivel 80, es durante el 70 al 80. Y eso está muy bien, gente. Y eso está muy bien.
This is one of the simpler choices available, but the idea is 4 different opportunities to nudge your gameplay in one direction or another within this tree. A capstone talent, again, is often likely to double down on and amplify what the initial point was, just reinforcing that having the treants out is going to be a peak, a spike in your potential, something that you're going to plan around, and just amplify the overall benefits that you're achieving from that. Pivoting to Elun's Chosen, again, this is lunar themed and shared with Guardian Druids. So the first point here,
solamente vamos a elegir ver los de los dos del druida para que nos hagamos una idea.
to balance one Guardian and make them meaningfully more impactful to your gameplay. If you're a Guardian Druid, for example, you might read this and realize that Lunar Beam is going to become a pretty powerful defensive cooldown, especially in dungeons. You have a big pull going on, you're leeching a lot of damage back from what you're doing. This is now something that you can really count on and plan around as you approach your gameplay. On the Moonkid side, this of course adds an extra layer to planning and throughput in your rotation. Noting a couple of these things that were modified, maybe deeper optional talents in your existing spec trees. We also, where we can, want to offer ways to make sure that you can trigger those effects even if you don't have the baseline talent, though you'll probably want to as well.
Vale, que no van a... por lo que entiendo es que no van a tocar mucho con estos nuevos talentos. No quieren retocar mucho lo que son las rotaciones, sino potenciarlas más bien, con alguna cosilla además. Si os fijáis, son prácticamente casi todos pasivos, ven alguna cosita más. Pasivo, pasivo, ¿os fijáis? Potencian las diferentes habilidades. Y esto es un rango pasivo, ¿veis? Son casi todos pasivos y demás. No quieren que sean más talentos para más habilidades en las barras. Que es suficiente que vamos a alguna clase ya. Hero Spell Leaks, Shaman, Stonebreaker, Fraser y Totemic. Totemic. Me gusta la de Totemic. Me mola, me mola, me mola, me mola, me mola.
But it's definitely early enough for us to pivot on a lot of these if there's something the community is really excited about. I want to triple super underscore. The example talents I just gave are work in progress, very subject to change. Probably no part of the game is more prone to iteration, and for no part of the game is the community input more essential than class design, spec design. To that end, when we move into our alpha, probably in the spring, we want to have as many, if not all of these hero specs playable from the start, so that we have the entire alpha and beta window to iterate on them, to replace the things that aren't working, to dial them all in to where everyone's going to be excited about what they're getting and more within. It's a long road ahead. We can't wait to share that journey with you and really just collaborate, discuss back and forth every step of the way.
Esto no me he enterado, gente. Estoy intentando poner cositas a la misma vez y es súper complicado esto, tío. Otras cositas. Nueva raza aliada.
These are going to be earned just by playing through the War Within campaign fully. There's no rep to grind here, nothing else beyond that. It's you are
diferente. Como es raza aliada, será tanto para alianza como la para horda, gente. Tenemos enanos en la horda.
You're going to learn about the nature of their problems, the nature of their culture. You're going to work with them to overcome those problems, win their trust. At the end of that journey, it will make sense. It will be a natural next step for them to lend you their aid and join you as either Horde or Alliance. So yes, Horde Dwarves. We haven't yet finalized what the racial abilities are going to be, but the available classes.
Vale, es la armadura dinástica, gente. Va a ser Demon Hunt, Demonio, Hunter Mago, Paladín, Priest, Rogues, Chamán. Un chamán enano, gente, en la horda. Pues vamos para allá. Vamos para allá. Dragon Raiding East Turgey, sí, esto es eso. Sabemos que el Dragon Raiding se queda aquí.
So it was obvious very early on in Dragonflight, probably before Dragonflight even released in beta, that we could never go back to how it used to be. Honestly, we hoped that would be the outcome. We hoped the feedback would be, this is so awesome, we just want this to be how flying works forever. But we immediately began, making plans for what that would mean, because it's the only way to go. And so, yeah, dragon riding is going to become the default, no longer just.
Se queda aquí, eso ya sabemos, o sea que esto me da exactamente igual, no tengo tal. Lo que sí es con todas las monturas, gente, todas las monturas. Así que. Hija de puta. No todos, aunque no todos son dragones.
Is that you don't have much reason to use so many of the mounts that are your favorites visually, aesthetically, that you've earned and done so much to collect. You want to make sure that as much of your collection is viable as possible. So not every single flying mount is going to be able to support dynamic flight. There's some animation logistics to work with there, but as many as we can. It's a 3-digit number. We want a very wide array of mounts being able to just fly the way you've always enjoyed with your dragons.
Esto ya no lo he entendido, ¿veis?
Just to clarify, like, this is the future of flying. So everywhere that you can fly today, you will be able to dynamically fly or dragon ride. In fact, not just in the War Within, a little sneak peek, I think in our upcoming 10.2.5 update, you'll be able to dragon ride in Eastern Kingdoms, Kalimdor, Northrend, Outland, you name it.
Hable todo, ¿qué? Hable choice between entre dinámica. Ah, bueno, puedes cambiar entre el vuelo normal y el vuelo dinámico. O el vuelo Dragon Raiding.
Dragon riding or let's call it TBC flying. Up to you, whatever you prefer. And again, to be clear, dynamic flight will be available from the very start when you go to Castlegar and the Isle of Dorne, just as it was in Dragonflight.
Dynamic flight desde Castlegar. En el comienzo, o sea, empezaremos la expansión directamente con el vuelo. Oh, qué bueno, tío. Directamente con el vuelo, loco.
Just play through the campaign, explore the continents, then you can fly that way as well. The existing dragon riding glyph system in the Dragon Isles, we want to pivot that to a bit more of something that's evergreen. Some of those unlocked traits may change to only work within the Dragon Isles. Others that are more essential to just the experience feeling good, like vigor increases, regenerates, the active abilities, are just going to be things that you will inherently get as you earn dynamic flight and level up naturally. We don't want down the line players to feel like they have to go back to an old expansion and fly around and collect
el sistema, nuevos glifos y demás. O sea que...
explore the new expansion. And in that vein, this is going to be the new default for leveling players. I mentioned earlier, when Warbands comes out, instead of BFA, Dragonflight will be the new leveling experience that you merge into as a new player after you leave Exile's Reach. And so you're going to get dragon riding very
oh, Dynamic Fly, en The Unique Crusader Fly. ¿Cómo?
player levels, you will improve your
Hostia, no me he enterado. Que sí, el Dragon Raiden vuelve en el viejo mundo. El 10.2.5 podremos volar con el Dragon Raiden en todo Azeroth. No hace falta llegar a la nueva expansión. En el 10.2.5, no en el 10.10, en el 10.2 que sale ahora, no, en el siguiente. Nuevo campo de batalla, hombre. Así es cierto. 10 contra 10 de Reading Deeps. Por fin, gente.
Natural resources, that's very sort of thing that the Horn Alliance will be likely to skirmish over. I'm going to show you a very rough, early, kind of like top-down mock-up of the layout here. The idea is like Silver Shard Mines, which is radial symmetry. This is more, mirrored and reflects the two sides trying to both
una mina en medio
minecarts to collect resources while also fighting over a pivotal central control point that's going to change the
unas vías, estáis viendo unas vías por aquí. Supongo que te estará controlando y llevando llevando hacia dónde tenemos que llevar la vía o qué. Pues llevarlo por aquí. Que se mantenga por aquí o se mantenga por aquí. Entiendo. Hostia, esto es para meterse guantazos, ¿eh? Tiene más. Por fin, tío.
I mentioned 10v10, but we are just about to undertake a little 8v8 solo queue RBG experiment in 10.2 in a week or two. So depending on how that goes, you may be experiencing this one 8v8 as well. So stay tuned. Otherwise, we have a few ongoing interface updates we're continuing to work on. In Dragonflight, we overhauled the HUD,
interface. Vale.
the baseline UI experience. We made it clear at the time that
vamos a ver qué nuevo actualización.
Updating different pieces of the UI to be more streamlined, better reflective of the modern gameplay experience. So just a couple of examples here.
A ver.
So the spellbook, we are looking to modernize, update.
El libro. Hostia, lo veo súper grande ahora, ¿no?
Like a 1024 by 768 monitor resolution.
Han subido la resolución.
Flip through multiple pages to find some ability that's not on your action bars. Also, we're combining this with our talent screen. If you look at the tabs at the bottom, you have spec, talents, and spells all in one place. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for all the things that your character has.
Para la pantalla más grande, entiendo. ¿Será esto? Todo en uno. Vale. En los libros ya aparecerán tanto las habilidades como los talentos, todos ahí. El mapa. El mapa, por cierto, bueno, Esmeralda Dream, vale, el de dragón. Esto es para el 10.2. 10.2, perdón. On just shades of color as much as we do. It's really, it is a color blindness issue for the range of quest bangs, where the only difference is what color it is. And again, this is just a couple of examples of ongoing efforts. This is a project that will never be done. We're just going to continue improving and updating different aspects of the UI as we go. Vale. Sumamos a diferentes tipos de filtro. This one basically speaks for itself. I've mentioned earlier, your Warband is a cross-realm construct. Increasingly, so many of the activities that players engage in socially span multiple realms. You have a Ray group, you have a Mythic Plus group that you run with. Más cositas. Be in the same guild together. Not any longer. That's a thing that will change when War Within comes out. Apply, recruit. Server shouldn't matter when it comes to joining a guild, when it comes to being in a guild, when it comes to accessing the perks of being in a guild. Eso no lo he entendido, lo siento. And people may be wondering, wait a minute, what does that mean if now guilds are cross-realm? What about mythic raiding? Día 1 cross. Oh, Mythical Raiding. Entre por fin empezamos ya con el 100% de hermandades con da igual la facción que seas, tío. Desde el día 1, ¿eh? Mythic Raiding. Bien.
Philosophically, this is another step towards one of our goals of just tearing down barriers, making the game as social as possible, making it as easy as possible to play with who you want to play with, regardless of your server, regardless of your faction. As much as possible, if you want to play WoW with somebody, let's make that happen.
Esto... Quitando todas las barreras, ¿no? Para jugar con los amigos. ¿Ya está? Más cositas y demás.
If you're going online, you can go to the WoW or WoW Classic subreddits or our official.
Estaremos en Steam la semana que viene.
Ask your questions there or upvote others. This coming week, when we get back to the office, we're going to huddle, review the top questions, and record streams for both Classic and for War Within, addressing the top questions to try to get as much information out there as possible. So.
Vale. Comunicación con la comunidad, muy importante, tío, muy importante.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to begin this journey together with you. Can't wait for the War Within. Enjoy the rest of Blizzcon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I love you all.
¡Hala! Pues ya está. Terminadito, gente. Han terminado. Y ya está, ¿no? Ahora ¿qué tocaría? No sé lo que toca ahora el nuevo panel. Vamos a ver qué panel pone ahora. A ver.
Virtual production made simple. Intel. Push your gameplay
Estos son todos los proveedores.
Check out MSI's wide array of monitors from Nobel Prize winning.
Pues yo creo que ya está. No creo que haya nada más.
And the beneficiary of BlizzCon's charity auction is Direct Relief.
A ver. Yo creo que esto ya está, gente. Esto ya está. Compre la entrada, danos dinero. No tiene nada más esto, yo creo, gente. Pam, 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 para, pam. Bueno, pues... no queda nada más, ¿no? Bueno, pues ahora sí que sí, gente. Ya hemos terminado lo de WoW en principio. Ahora quería las preguntas, si no recuerdo mal. Ahora vienen lo de las preguntas, pero yo creo que ya hemos terminado. Es que no sé el... Creo que hemos terminado completamente, gente. Pues oye, me ha gustado. No hay algo importante, pero es que World of Warcraft, no sé. A mí lo de la nueva forma de jugar, esa de 1 a 4 jugadores, que hayan quitado lo del PvP, también me parece un poquito raro uno. No sé, gente. Veremos. Veremos cómo sale todo. Veremos cómo sale todo. Esto es lo de Diablo y demás. Bueno, gente, vamos dejando por aquí. Que no quiero... Los delves. No quiero alargar mucho más el vídeo. Aquí tenéis un poquito, perdón por la traducción, que lo mío en la traducción pensaba que iba a estar traducido automáticamente en español, pero no había forma de encontrar algo así. Si hay algo más, pues estaremos trayendo y intentaremos recopilar toda la información y todas las novedades y traerlas en un nuevo hilo para todos vosotros. Así que nada, espero que os guste, como siempre digo. Nos vemos en el próximo vídeo. Y no es que me flipe, el contenido, me flipa el lore que viene, pero... con ganas de nueva expansión y nuevas cositas. Así que nada, nos vemos. Chao.